Welcome to the 2017 Spring Dexter Prize Speaking Contest. Today's contestants have all competed in previous Dexter Prize competitions this year, and as a result, they are now place winner. It's $400. We have 6 speakers this morning. The first speaker is Mingzi Lily Yan, who will be reciting The Generation That's Remaking China by Yang Lan.
Microblogging boomed in the year of 2010, with visitors doubling and time spent tripled. Sina.com, a major news portal, alone had more than 140 million microbloggers. On Tencent, 200 million. About 80% of those microbloggers are young people, under 30 years old. And as you know, the traditional media is still heavily controlled by the government. The social media offers an opening to let the steam come out a little bit. But because there are now some of the selected abortions by the families who favored boys to girls, now we have ended up with 30 million more young men than women. That could pose a potential danger to the society, but who knows, while in a globalized world, they can look for girlfriends from other countries. Most of them receive a fairly good education. The illiteracy rate among this generation in China is under 1%. In cities, 80% of kids go to college. But they are facing an aging China with a population above 65 years old are coming up 7.some% this year and about to be 15% at the year of 2030. And you know, we have the tradition that the young generation support the elders financially and take care of them when they are sick. So making a living is not that easy for young people. The college graduates are not in short supply. In urban areas, the college graduates find that their starting salary is $400 US, while the average rent is more than $500. So what do? They have to share space. Squeezing very limited space to save money, and they call themselves tribe of ants. And for those who are getting ready to marry and buy an apartment, they figured out they have to work for 30 to 40 years to afford their first apartment. That ratio in America could only cost a couple of 5 years to earn, but in China, it's 30 to 40 years with the skyrocketing real estate prices. Among 200 million migrant workers, 60% of them are young people. They find out they're sort of sandwiched between the urban areas and the rural areas. Most of them do not want to go back to the countryside, but they don't have a sense of belonging. They work for longer hours with less income, less social welfare. They are more vulnerable to job losses, subject to inflation, handling loans from banks, appreciation of renminbi, or decline of demand for Europe or American for the products they produced. Last year, though, there was an appalling incident in Southern OEM manufacturing company in China. 13 young workers in their late teens and early 20s committed suicide. Just one by one, like it was caused by the contagious disease, but they died because of all personal reasons. And this thing aroused a huge outcry from the society of the isolation, both physical and mental, of these migrant workers. Through seeing some of the hottest topics on the internet, we can see what young people care most about. Social justice and government accountability were first in what they demand. So when these incidents are reported more and more frequently, people cry for the government to take action to stop this. Many other issues concerning public safety are hot topics on the internet. We've heard about polluted air, polluted water, poisoned food, and guess what? We have fake beef. They have sort of ingredients that you brush on a piece of chicken or fish, and it turns it to look like beef. So all these things have aroused a huge outcry from the internet. And fortunately, we have seen the government responding more timely and also more frequently to the public concerns. Well, the young generation seem to be very sure about their public policy, the participation about the public policy making. Sometimes they seem to be a little bit lost in terms of what they want for their personal life. China is soon to pass the United States as the #1 market for luxury brands. But you know what? Half of the consumers are earning a salary below $2,000. They are not rich at all. They are taking these bags and clothes as a sense of identity and the social status. There is a famous clip of a girl explicitly saying in a TV dating show that she would rather cry in a BMW than smile on a bicycle. Happiness is the most popular word we have heard through the past 2 years. But happiness is not only related to personal experiences and personal values, but it's about environment. People are thinking about these following questions. Are we going to sacrifice our environment further to produce higher GDP? How are we going to perform social and political reform to keep the pace up with economic growth, to keep sustainability and stability? I guess these are the questions that people are going to answer, and our younger generation are going to transform this country, while at the same time being transformed themselves. Thank you.
Our next speaker is another sophomore, Fiona Price, who will be reciting Refugees and Home by Brian Bilston and Larson Shire.
They have no need of our help. So do not tell me these haggard faces could belong to you or me should life have dealt a different hand. We need to see them for who they really are. Chancers and scroungers, layabouts and loungers, with bombs up their sleeves, cutthroats and thieves. They are not welcome here. We should make them go back to where they came from. They cannot share our food, share our homes, share our countries. Instead, let us build a wall to keep them out. It is not okay to say, these are people just like us. A place should only belong to those who are born there. Do not be so stupid to think that the world can be looked at another way. The world can be looked at another way. Do not be so stupid to think that a place should only belong to those who are born there. These are people, just like us. It is not okay to say, build a wall to keep them out. Instead, let us share our countries, share our homes, share our food. They cannot go back to where they came from. We should make them welcome here. They are not cutthroats and thieves with bombs up their sleeves, layabouts and loungers, chancers and scroungers. We need to see them for who they really are. Should life have dealt a different hand, these haggard faces could belong to you or me. So do not tell me they have no need of our help. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well. Your neighbors running faster than you, breath bloody in their throats. The boy you went to school with, who kissed you dizzy behind the old tin factory, is holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't let you stay. No one leaves home unless home chases you, fire under feet, hot blood in your belly. It's not something you ever thought of doing until the blade burnt threats into your neck. And even then, you carried the anthem under your breath, only tearing up your passport in an airport toilet, sobbing as each mouthful of paper made it clear that you wouldn't be going back. You have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one burns their palms under trains, beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck feeding on newspaper unless the miles traveled means something more than journey. No one crawls under fences. No one wants to be beaten, pitied. No one chooses refugee camps or strip searches where your body is left aching, or prison, because prison is safer than a city of fire, and one prison guard in the night is better than a truckload of men who look like your father. No one can take it. No one can stomach it. No one skin would be tough enough. The go home blacks, refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers. They smell strange, savage, messed up their country and now they want to mess ours up? How do the words, the dirty looks, roll off your backs? Maybe because the blow is softer than a limb torn off, or the words are more tender than 14 men between your legs, or the insults are easier to swallow than rubble, than bone, than your child's body in pieces. I want to go home, but home is the mouth of a shark. Home is the barrel of the gun, and no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore. Unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through the desert, wade through the oceans, drown, save, feed, hunger, beg, forget pride. Your survival is more important. No one leaves home until home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave, run away from me now. I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here. Thank you.
Our next speaker is freshman Rohan Krishnan, who will be reciting Why Nations Should Pursue Soft Power by Shashi Tharoor.
I've become rather concerned about all this talk of India becoming the next world leader, even the next superpower. After all, what constitutes a world leader? If it's population, then we're on our course to top the charts. Is it military strength? Well, we have the 4th largest army. Is it the economy? Well, we have the 5th largest economy. And we continue to grow. When the rest of the world took a beating last year, we grew at 6.7%. But somehow, none of that adds up to what I think India can really contribute to the world. The key to India is soft power. Soft power is essentially a country's ability to attract others through political values, culture, and foreign policies. In order to have soft power, you need to be connected. One might argue that India has become an astonishingly connected country. I'm sure you've all heard the figures. We've been selling 15 million cell phones a month. Currently, there are 509 million cell phones in Indian hands, in India. But perhaps what some of you don't realize is how far we've come to get there. You know, when I was growing up in India, telephones were a rarity. In fact, they were so rare that elected members of parliament were given the right to allocate 15 telephone lines as a favor to those they deemed worthy. In fact, if there was a dial tone and you dialed a number, the odds were 2 in 3 that you wouldn't reach the number you intended to reach. In fact, the words "wrong number" were more popular than the word "hello." These days on the side streets of Delhi, you'll find a fellow with a cart that looks like it was designed in the 16th century, wielding a coal-fired steam iron that might have been invented in the 18th century. But he's carrying a 21st century instrument. He's carrying a cell phone because most incoming calls are free, and that's how he gets the orders from the neighborhood in order to know which clothes to collect. Fishermen are going out to sea carrying their cell phones, and when they catch the fish, they call all the market towns along the coast in order to get the best possible price. Today, a half a day's labor is saved with a 2-minute phone call. So this empowerment of the underclass is the real result of India being connected. But that's not the only thing in India that's spreading. We've got Bollywood. My attitude towards Bollywood is best described in the tale of 2 goats at a Bollywood garbage dump, where they're chewing away at cans of celluloid. And the first goat says, "Wow, this film isn't bad." And the second goat says, "No, but the book was better." The fact is that Bollywood is spreading a certain aspect of Indian culture around the globe, not just in the Indian diaspora in the US and the UK, but to the screens of Arabs and Africans, to Senegalese and Syrians. That's soft power. The same is true of our music, of our dance, art, yoga, Ayurveda, and Indian cuisine. Today in Britain, for example, Indian restaurants employ more people than the coal mining, shipbuilding, and iron and steel industries combined. So the empire can strike back. India is the land of the better story. Stereotypes are changing. We've gone from the image of India as the land of fakirs lying on beds of nails and snake charmers with the Indian rope trick, to the image of India as the land of mathematical geniuses, computer wizards, and software gurus. But there's something more substantive than that. Because India's been an open society for a millennium. India gave refuge to the Jews, fleeing the destruction of the first temple by the Babylonians, and thereafter by the Romans. In fact, legend has it that when doubting Thomas, the apostle, St. Thomas, landed on the shores of Kerala, my home state, around 52 AD, he was welcomed by a flute-playing Jewish girl. And to this day, India is the only Jewish diaspora in the history of the Jewish people that has never encountered a single incident of anti-Semitism. The fact is that the last election in India gave the world an extraordinary vision of an election being won by a woman leader of Italian descent and Roman Catholic faith, Sonia Gandhi, who then made way for a Sikh, Manmohan Singh, to be sworn in as Prime Minister by a Muslim, President Abdul Kalam, in a country that's 81% Hindu. That is the India that's emerging in the 21st century. Now, I do want to make the point that if there's anything worth celebrating about India, it isn't military muscle or economic power. All of that is necessary, but we still have huge amounts of problems to overcome. Someone said that we are super poor and a superpower. We can't really be both. We have to overcome our poverty. But it's all taking place in an open society, in a rich and diverse and plural civilization, and one that is determined to liberate and fulfill the creative energies of its people. Thank you.
Our third and final sophomore competing today, Yingji Diana Lee, will recite Hands by Sarah Kay.
People used to tell me that I had beautiful hands. Told me so often, in fact, that one day I started to believe them. Until I asked my photographer father, "Hey Daddy, could I be a hand model?" And to which he said, "No way." I don't remember the reason he gave me, but it probably doesn't matter anyways. I would have been upset. But there are far too many stuffed animals to hold, too many homework assignments to write, too many boys to wave at, and too many years to grow. We used to have a game, my daddy and I, about holding hands, because we held hands everywhere, in cars, on buses, in movies, and every time either he or I would whisper a very big number to the other, pretending that we were keeping track of how many times we had held hands. That this one had to be 8,002,753. Hands learn more than minds do. Hands learn how to hold other hands, how to grip pencils and mold poetry, how to tickle piano keys and dribble a basketball and grab the handles of a bicycle, how to hold old people and touch babies. I love hands like I love people. They are the maps and compasses with which we navigate our way through life. Some people read palm to tell my future, but I read hands to tell your past. Each scar marks a story worth telling. Each callous palm, each cracked knuckle is a missed punch or years in a factory. Now it's intense clenched fists pounding against each other like war drums. Each country sees their fists as warriors and others as enemies, even if fists alone are only hands. But this is not a poem about politics. No, hands are not about politics. This is a poem about love and fingers. Fingers interlock like a beautiful zipper of prayer. Once I grabbed my dad's hand so that our fingers interlocked perfectly. But he changed position, saying, "No, that hand hold is for your mom." Kids high five, but grown-ups shake hands. You need a firm handshake, but don't hold it for too long. Don't hold it for too tight, but don't release it for too soon. But hands are not about politics. When did it become so complicated? I always thought it simple. The other day, my dad looked at my hands as if seeing them for the first time. And with laughter behind his eyelid, with all the seriousness a man of his humor could muster, he said, "You know, you've got nice hands. You could have been a hand model." And before the laughter can escape me, I shake my head at him and squeeze his hand. 8,002,754. Thank you.
Senior Zachary Kelly is up next, reciting The Danger of Silence by Clint Smith.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., in a 1968 speech where he reflects upon the civil rights movement, states, "In the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." As a teacher, I've internalized this message. Every day, all around us, we see the consequences of silence manifest themselves in forms of discrimination, violence, genocide, and war. In the classroom, I challenge my students to explore the silences of their own lives through poetry. We work together to fill those spaces, to recognize them, to name them, and to understand that they don't have to be sources of shame. In an effort to create a culture within my classroom where students feel comfortable sharing the intimacies of their own stories, I have 4 core principles. Read concisely, write consciously, speak clearly, tell your truth. And I find myself thinking a lot about that last point. Tell your truth. And I realized if I was going to ask my students to speak up, I was going to have to tell my truth and be honest with them about the times that I failed to do so. So I tell them that growing up as a kid in New Orleans in a Catholic family, during Lent I was taught the most meaningful thing I could do was to give something up that I typically indulge in to prove to God you understand His sanctity. I've given up soda, McDonald's, French fries, French kisses, and everything in between. But one year, I gave up speaking. I figured that the most valuable thing I could sacrifice was my own voice. But it was as if I hadn't realized that I had given it up a long time ago. I've spent so much of my life telling people of things they wanted to hear rather than the things they needed to. I told myself I wasn't meant to be anybody else's conscience because I still had to figure out being my own. So sometimes I just wouldn't say anything, appeasing ignorance with silence. When my best friend Christian was beat up for being gay, I put my hands in my pocket and walked with my head down as if I didn't even notice. I couldn't use my locker for weeks because the bolt on the lock reminded me of the one I had put on my lips when the homeless man on the corner looked at me with eyes up, merely seeking for an affirmation that he was worth seeing. I was more concerned with touching the screen on my Apple than actually feeding him one. When the woman at the fundraising gala said, "I'm so proud of you. It must be so hard teaching those poor, unintelligent children," I bit my lip, because apparently we needed her money more than my students needed their dignity. We spend so much of our time listening to the things people are saying that we rarely pay attention to the things they don't. Silence is the residue of fear. It is feeling your claws, gut-wrenching, guillotine your tongue. It is air retreating from your chest. Silence is Rwandan genocide. Silence is the Katrina aftermath. It is what you hear when there are not enough body bags left. It is the sound after the noose is already tied. There's no time to pick your battles when your battles have already picked you. I will not let my silence wrap itself around my indecision. I will tell Christian that he is a lion, a sanctuary of brilliance and bravery. I will ask that homeless man what his name is and how his day was, because sometimes all people want to be is human. I will tell that woman that my students can talk about transcendentalism like their last name was Thoreau, and just because you watched an episode of The Wire doesn't mean you know my kids. So this year, instead of giving something up, I will live every single day as if there was a microphone tucked under my tongue, a stage on the underside of my inhibition. Because who needs a soapbox when all you ever needed was your voice? Thank you.
Our final speaker this morning is Junior Peter Gaudette, who will be reciting John F. Kennedy's inaugural address. The world is very different now from when the first president took office. For man holds in his mortal hands the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life. Let the word go forth from this time and place that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans, born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage and unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed and to which we are committed today at home and around the world. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty. This much we pledge, and more. To those old allies whose cultural and spiritual origins we share, we pledge the loyalty of faithful friends. United, there is little we cannot do in a host of cooperative ventures. Divided, there is little we can do. To those people in the huts and villages of half the globe struggling to break the bonds of mass misery, we pledge our best efforts to help them help themselves for whatever period is required, not because the communists may be doing it, not because we seek their votes, but because it is right. If a free society cannot help the many who are poor, then it cannot save the few who are rich. To that world assembly of sovereign states, the United Nations, our last best hope in an age where the instruments of war have far outpaced the instruments of peace, we renew our pledge of support to prevent it from becoming merely a forum for invective, to strengthen its shield of the new and the weak, and to enlarge the area in which its writ may run. And finally, to those nations who would make themselves our adversary, we offer not a pledge, but a request that both sides begin anew the quest for peace before the dark powers of destruction unleashed by science engulf all humanity in planned or accidental self-destruction. But neither can two great and powerful groups of nations take comfort from our present course. Both sides overburdened by the cost of modern weapons, both rightly alarmed by the steady spread of the deadly atom, yet both racing to alter that uncertain balance of terror that stays the hand of mankind's final war. So let us begin anew, remembering on both sides that civility is not a sign of weakness, and sincerity is always subject to proof. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. Let both sides explore what problems unite us, instead of belaboring those problems which divide us. Let both sides seek to invoke the wonders of science instead of its terrors. Together, let us explore the stars, conquer the deserts, eradicate disease, and encourage the arts and commerce. And if a beachhead of cooperation may push back the jungle of suspicion, then let both sides join in creating a new endeavor. Not a new balance of power, but a new world of law, where the strong are just and the weak secure and the peace preserved. In your hands, my fellow Americans, more than mine, will rest the final success or failure of our course. Since this nation was founded, each generation of Americans has been summoned to give testimony to its national loyalty. The graves of young Americans who answered the call to service surround the globe. Now, the trumpet summons us again, not as a call to battle, though embattled we are, not as a call to bear arms, though arms we need, but a call to bear the burden of a long twilight struggle, year in and year out, patient in tribulation, rejoicing in hope, a struggle against the common enemies of man, tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself. Can we forge against these enemies a grand and global alliance, north and south, east and west, that will assure a more fruitful life for all mankind? Will you join in that historic effort? And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country will do for you, ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. Thank you.